हेलो। हेलो। there's a latency. आवाज़ आ रही है तो बताओ तो। लेटेंसी क्यों हो रहा है पता नहीं। हेलो। हेलो। हाँ अब ठीक हो गया। हाँ हाय। ठीक है अभी तो सिर्फ तुम ही हो लग रहा है। कैमरा वैमरा तो ठीक काम कर रहा है। तो इसका अभी भी डिबंक करना है क्योंकि इतना मज़ा आया पिछले दिन। तो देखते हैं और क्या क्या अजीब चीज़ें बोलती है वो। तो इसलिए और एक्चुअली साहेब पे रिएक्ट करने का मोटिवेशन और भी कम है क्योंकि उसमें तो हम सब अग्री करते हैं ना, हम सबको ही देख के अच्छा लगा। तो उसमें और अभी हम इलेबोरेट क्या करें अभी, इसलिए अरुंधति रॉय का तो ऐसा खुलासा होगा, ऐसा ट्विस्ट होगा इंटरव्यू में, वो तो पता ही नहीं था। तो उसका मज़ा लेने दो, वो मज़ा तो लेना होगा। हाय कृतिका। तो हम लोगों ने पिछले दिन देखा था 28 मिनट 50 सेकेंड तक। तो अभी 27 मिनट से फिर से देखते हैं क्योंकि आखिरी में भी एक बहुत अजीब पॉइंट किया था उन्होंने। चलो ऐड हो जाने दो। हाँ एक मिनट कमेंट पढ़ लेते हैं। डू अ लाइव ऑन द recent comments made by Tumbad makers on Kantara. Shravya, actually we discussed it in last day's chat, the day before yesterday's stream. Okay, what I was saying was that Tumbad had a place in people's hearts for the last few years, in being the best Hollywood, almost Hollywood level production quality wise movie which came from a non-mainstream scenario in Indian cinema and told a very Indian story. Okay, but now that place, that zone has been totally hijacked by Kantara, and that's why I think there's a huge jealousy at play. Tumbad, that maker, is very flummoxed at the fact that what just few days back we created this space of like world class cinema but low budget, coming from a rooted Indian story but not entirely in culture but has some Indian ethos to it. Is my volume fine? So and now Kantara comes in and changes all that, takes away their space and does it on a way more bigger and gigantic scale. So that's a huge problem for the makers of Tumbad. Tumbad is a good movie, I've heard from very trusted people. I haven't watched Tumbad, but it's a good movie. They shouldn't have said those things. And the stupidest part is that the toxic masculinity that he's accusing Kantara of, those toxic parts were not glorified. They were shown as toxic and flaws, because Rishabh Shetty's character says near the climax that Shudh hoke aaya hu, which means he was not Shudh before when he was doing all those so-called toxic stuff. So that's the point. Why do you use YouTube when you can use Revanced? अच्छा ये Revanced है क्या? ये तो पता नहीं. It seems like he's a night. Yeah, I'm very much a night owl. Musician लोगों का ऐसा ही है. रात के बिना तो मज़ा नहीं आता है काम करने में, क्या करे. Revanced is basically YouTube without ads. अच्छा उसमें क्या ये सब वीडियो होता है? ठीक है देख लेंगे कभी. We've got a family plan for you. So let's start from 27 minutes because she made a point last day. So we'll gather the train of thought as well. She said that Yogi Adityanath and BJP, if they lose in the 2022 elections, because this interview came out 1 month before the election results came out. So she was saying that if UP is lost by BJP, then the next party which comes to power will have to be very vigilant and prevent people from becoming polarized and Hindutva again. Because BJP right now is not doing much chaos because they are apparently busy with governance. Okay, so she gave a huge compliment to BJP. So we'll take up from that part. Okay, let's Brave browser, no ads. I actually have a subscribed profile from subscribed. I am a YouTube Premium account holder, but that's from my personal profile where I have my personal music and stuff. This is my College Street Kolkata account that I'm viewing this video from. That's why the ads, and I'm fine with the ads because it gives me some time to check out the comments as well. Let's put up the comments here. Where can I put this? Wait, देखते हैं अगर यहाँ हो तो हाँ इसको यहाँ पे डाल देते हैं. Okay, let's start. अच्छा एड ब्लॉकर भी है, वो यूट्यूब पे काम नहीं करता है, नहीं तो चलता नहीं है आधे समय.
A defeated BJP is more dangerous for India than a victorious BJP.
No. But a defeated BJP, let's say in UP, could try and create the kind of turbulence that it created.
But that's what I'm saying. A defeated BJP is more dangerous.
Just cool off. What I'm saying.
Okay, for the people who are joining today and did not watch last day's stream, the entire theme of this interview is that we haven't even reached the halfway point, or we have just about reached the halfway point, and we realized about 5 minutes back in the video, in the interview, that Karan Thapar was asking the usual softball leftist questions to her. She was having fun with them, but there came a time in the interview when Arundhati Roy started saying such insanely weak and stupid arguments that Karan Thapar, being totally on her side of the political spectrum, was forced to push her and press her on some arguments. And that's when immediately Arundhati Roy's entire facade came crumbling down like a house of cards. And that's when she started getting pissed off with even Karan Thapar, which you are seeing right now. So we are right now in the middle of a huge twist, which even I didn't know because I was live reacting to it. I hadn't watched this interview before. So she is right now getting pissed off with Karan Thapar for pushing her on some arguments.
Thing is that a defeated BJP, let's say in 2022 UP, will see 2 years to the 2024 election coming, 2 years in which it does not have the responsibility of government and is free to create chaos. And therefore, whatever government comes...
Yeah, you hear that phrase? Right now she's saying BJP is not free to cause chaos. If they are free to cause chaos, then they will. Okay, so what she means by chaos, we can have a debate about that. But if at all, what we think are the good actions of BJP is chaos, even then, she's saying BJP is right now does not have the time to do chaos because they are busy with governance. So that's a huge compliment.
And the people involved will have to be very vigilant to not let that happen.
And that's when the danger of fascism becomes stronger.
Yes, because it's not like you can throw a switch and it's over. This has wo to khoon mein utar gaya, you know, you have to like
in your
be
Trinity
careful.
College, Cambridge.
Again, a compliment for Hindutva. She's saying that Hindutva is fascism, of course, and that has khoon mein utar gaya. Just like Marxism was ingrained in our blood all these years.
Clark lecture, you raised two particular concerns about fascism. I want to put them to you one by one. First, you said, as India embraces majoritarian Hindu nationalism, which is a polite term for fascism, many liberals and even communists continue to be squeamish about using that term. Are you saying that liberals and communists, who traditionally and ideally should be standing up and fighting back, are actually in denial?
Well, communists, yes, they should have been standing up and fighting back. Liberals have historically been, you know, wishy-washy on many things.
This is going to be fun. Communists should have been fighting back. So what are they doing? They have been fighting back against everything ever created by mankind since Karl Marx's birth. So what fighting back is left to do? Anything you do, they are going to fight back. You create any good thing, there's some reason to fight back against it from communists. And liberals have been wishy-washy. So she is above liberals, she's above communists. And if you watch our last day's live stream, she was actually criticizing without understanding, without realizing it, even Marxist historians, because she was saying that all the glorious past about Bharat that we discuss, all that is mythic, which is not even a position held by Marxists. Marxist historians will tell you that there was actually a glorious past, but the Mughal era, the medieval era was equally great, if not better. But Marxist historians also never say that there was absolutely no glorious past, okay? They won't use the glorious word because they can't give any compliment to India. But even Marxist historians agree that there was a lot of great economic superiority, etc. There was a lot of culture, philosophy, and sciences being explored in ancient India. She's saying there was none of that. So she's above Marxist historians, she is above Marxists, she is above liberals. So very interesting. She's the outsider looking in. Now let's react to some comments. Let's see. Love from Siliguri. Hi. ठंड कैसा है सिलीगुड़ी में? Are you Bengali? I want to I'll maybe answer some in Hindi as well. I'm forgetting Hindi. I want to keep being good in as many languages as possible. It helps in brain's cognitive functions. Do a live on the recent. हाँ हो गया. इतनी रात को live हो गया. Why do you use YouTube Advanced Brave browser? No desktop. अच्छा. Does anyone know where I can watch GGVV? I think it's on Z5, right? Acha, Kritika, I can't read Hindi. I read Hindi very slowly. By the way, something Divas ki shubhkamnaएं sabhi ko, and I can't read what Divas it is. Apparently, Tumbad has many anti-dharmic elements subtly woven into the movie that most don't notice. Watch Pratik's Tumbad's review where he details some of this. Okay. I haven't watched Tumbad, so good to know. সপ্তর্ষি অধিকারী, দাদা ইউএস যেই নতুন ফাইটার বম্বারটা নির্মাণ করেছে সেটা কি দেখেছো? না তো I have he is asking that have I seen the new fighter bomber made by USA, and no, I haven't seen it, and if they are going to sell it to Pakistan then there's no point. How many languages do you know? I mean, no, Hindi, English, Bengali, obviously. I can read only Hindi and English, and I know I can understand Nepali. Why do you think all the left-wing movies are so high in quality? For example, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That's a very good question and a very important question. See, because art inherently has a resistance character to it, because art as we know it today has basically stemmed from the Enlightenment era, Renaissance era, okay? That is all the Western influenced music, movies, all that we know. But art in India was in devotion to God. Art from the West came as a resistance to Christian powers. Therefore, since we have grown up in a colonized and colonialized world, we inherently understand art as a way to resist to something or the other, standing up to power, saying truth to power. So there is an inherent quality of always complaining about something. And since they are complaining about something and they are serious about it, and they think that the whole world is going to dogs, like if I don't do this, capitalism is going to screw me, screw my family, everyone is going to die, the world is going to hell. They are always in paranoia mode. So that paranoia mode pushes them hard at working hard in their craft. And then there's many other factors as well, but they are not living in a comfortable world in their mind. They may actually have physical comforts, but see the difference with Hindus. Hindus don't even know the threats to them. That's why they don't work hard in their craft. The Hindutva filmmakers, that is, except now. Most Hindutva productions, like that Hindutva movie, even that was, I heard, propaganda. But mostly that you see, most movies that you used to see until a few years back, which were saying very Indic stories, were not remotely as good in production. They are happy in their world. They are reading only Indic content and consuming Indic content. They are not feeling at home with the rest of the world, which is why their craft is not improving, because art has to always interact with other things. You can't remain closed inside a room and do art. That's not what leftists are doing. A leftist is associating with every oppressed and marginalized group in the world, except Hindus, of course. And so therefore they are inclined to watch content and read books and listen to music from everywhere around the world. That's why their art improves to a larger extent. Tumbad has really Tumbad is really nice film, but it's way different from Kantara, and the theme itself is different. So comparison is unfair. Okay, Kantara has much depth to it and much more rich in terms of screenplay. And Tumbad is from which state? Which language film Tumbad is? I don't know that. A. Bhattacharya. Left liberals have always denied India's past. I have talked to Marxists, Bong. They maintain we were taught by Mughals. Yeah. Prior to that, we were uncivilized. So Roy's position is not new. Not every Marxist historian though, because you'll hear even Romila Thapar defending a lot of, not defending, at least saying a lot of good things about India's past. Her position is that has nothing to do with today's Hindutva. That's her position. But Romila Thapar is not saying that India was a barren land, a destroyed, broken society, or a basically uncivilized society, and everything began with Mughals. That's not what she's saying. Tumbad is a Marathi film. Okay.
But yes, I'd say that denial is a polite word, because...
What is the more appropriate word?
Well, collaboration, collusion. I mean, there were many people, liberals who are intelligent and good people, who even after they knew what happened, let's say in Gujarat, they knew about the daylight massacres, the killings, the use of state machinery, the rhetoric.
Remember, Gujarat massacre means retaliation to an actual massacre inside the trains that happened with Kursevaks.
When Modi became Prime Minister, there was a sort of euphoria. He was welcomed. But
which liberal welcomed Narendra Modi? Look for that person, guys. Hit him or her up on Twitter and thank that person.
Now, a lot of them have taken very brave positions at cost to themselves, and I admire that,
So they're no longer squeamish.
Lots of them are not squeamish
now. So again,
now.
This is an opinion that is slightly different to the point when you wrote it.
Yeah, I mean,
although you only wrote it about 18, 19 months ago.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there was a sort of red carpet rolled out. It was hard for people like me to understand
but today you believe liberals are actually standing up.
Some are, yes, of course they are.
So the denial is not so strong today as it was, say, 18, 19 months ago.
No, and even I'm talking about, the denial that led to a situation in which Modi could come to power and be applauded.
Okay, so a denial from liberals led Modi to come to power. Denial from liberals. There was no other factor. Only just because liberals denied Modi's fascist tendencies, that's why Modi came to power. Otherwise, liberals would have totally stopped him. Amazing. Tumbad is a Marathi film. How is music as a career? Is it stable income similar to a salaryman job, or is it very bulky and uneven income? It's stable for some musicians. See, being a musician is a hugely diverse term, because there are many avenues in music and there are many genres and many industries where you can work as a musician. Because firstly, you can be a composer, you can be a music programmer, arranger, background score composer, sound engineer, or any instrument player, guitar player, drum player. Then it comes to what instrument you are playing. If you are a drummer and a guitarist, and you can play with almost all easy Bollywood songs and stuff, then you will obviously have a pretty good life. You can do lots of corporate gigs, marriage gigs. Your life is pretty much set as good as a salaryman. Then you can teach those instruments to younger kids. Instrument players have that safety, but of course they'll never be the as high earners as industry grade composers or arrangers. Maybe the best drummers in the country, best guitarists, like people who are playing with Arundhati Singh or Sonu Nigam, those drummers, those guitarists won't have a problem. And but there's a little more money in composition arrangement, but there's absolutely no money in composition arrangement if you are not at the top. Except the top rung of composition arrangement, you'll get some month you'll do work of 40,000 rupees, some month you'll do 4,000 rupees of work, and some 2 or 3 months you'll have zero work. And so that's the scene with the composition arrangement. That seasonal thing also happens with instrument players, but in the off season they don't have to go completely broke because they can teach that instrument. As for teaching music programming and sound engineering, that so far what I have experienced is a bit of a problem, because most people think I'll learn 2 or 3 months of music programming and sound engineering, and in the 4th month I'll make some music like Hans Zimmer in Interstellar. That's not going to happen. So students lose a bit of patience. There's a YouTuber still misguiding people and asking Kantara to give credits to Thaikon even when they've lost the legal battle. So I'm going to take him on soon. Good. Guys, check out Hakaishin God, this profile, okay? He has been at it for the last few weeks. He is destroying all the Thaikuram Bridge arguments repeatedly in video after video. Okay. As we know that in ancient India, the upper garment for women didn't used to be strictly covering, which wouldn't work today. The same way, how do you think it is even possible? What is possible? It wouldn't work today because our entire view of the women's body has changed. So, which part of the possibility are you talking about? Are you saying that wearing that conchika won't be possible? So I don't think the wearing a conchika will be possible anymore.
And
the second
celebrated
concern you raised, and in some senses it may be a more important concern because it may chime with the audience more greatly, is the question, when does fascism become fascism? You wrote, and I'm quoting, the division in opinions on the use of the term comes down to whether you believe that fascism became fascism only after a continent was destroyed and millions of people were exterminated in gas chambers. You're referring there to what happened in Germany. Or whether you believe that fascism is an ideology that led to those crimes, that can lead to those crimes, and that those who subscribe to it are fascists. In other words, what you're saying there is that the ideology that leads to fascism already exists in India. And you're also hinting, aren't you, that if we don't act fast, those horrible crimes that happened in Germany could inexorably happen in India too.
Well, I think
Okay, for the people again who did not watch the day before yesterday's stream, there's something she's doing here which I need to debunk beforehand. What she's doing is she's extrapolating what just because I wake up in the morning and go to the bathroom and so did Karl Marx, that does not make me a Marxist. In the same way, just because Nazis talked of a great past and Akhand Germany and saw some group as an enemy or a threat does not make Hindus the same way, okay? Because there are countless other differences. She's only looking at the similarities, not the differences. Now, this is called an extrapolation because similar thing, that same model happened in Germany, therefore that exact same thing is going to happen in India. That's her argument. Now, this extrapolation thing, I want to show you all what my favorite economist, Dr. Thomas Sowell, says about extrapolation. Look at this quote. Dr. Thomas Sowell does not know Arundhati Roy, but he just destroyed all her arguments, basically her entire career with this quote. Extrapolations are the last refuge of a groundless argument. When you don't have a proper argument, that's when you take the help of extrapolations, because you can't prove it right now. What are the fascistic tendencies? You just get a vibe. So that's called having a groundless argument. Aren't we all evolved from Stone Age? So wouldn't it be weird for, say, a teenage boy? No, I don't think it would be weird for a teenage boy, because see, if an untrained or an uncivilized man is just dependent on his testosterone, but an educated man who grows up in a certain kind of a society, that's going to be very different, because otherwise what is brahmacharya, right? So do you think Chanakya, when he was 16 years old, would feel that way as a 16-year-old boy feels about women today? There has been a lot of sexualization, and the problem with feminists is that they think sexualization, consensual sexualization of the women's body, if a woman talks about it and a woman does it out of her own accord, then sexualization is fine. So which is absolutely not going to prevent sexualization at all. Only in the modern world, Iceland has been able to do away with sexual crimes to a large extent because they have taught sex education in schools so much. And we had the other model, just having absolutely no avenue of sexualizing a woman. because sex meant a different thing in ancient India. So our models are not going to be working right now because the world is completely different today, and we live in an Abrahamized world. So we'll have to look for some hybrid solutions, maybe some sex education and maybe some return to dharma in 1 or 2 generations, so that we can stop looking at women's bodies the same way. A. Bhattacharya, Shashi Tharoor, what are you saying this in response to? I did not understand. You can elaborate on that. Do you think capitalism would be counterproductive for a dharmic rule in India in future? That's a blanket question, but there are much layers to it. Nothing of extremity is good, and actually if you read Arthashastra basically is a very middle of the road between total free market libertarianism and total socialism and communism bullshit. So what Sanjeev Sanyal, Bibek Debroy, these guys all have read Arthashastra, okay? And Sanjeev Sanyal is a member in the Economic Advisory Council to Narendra Modi. Bibek Debroy is the chairman of that Economic Advisory Council to Narendra Modi. So these guys understand Indic economics very well. And that's why you see so many free stuff still being given away. So that's basically very Arthashastra-like economic system that they are running. They are encouraging markets and at the same time creating a safety net. But what I like about their views is that I'm saying all this is capitalism, by the way. It's not as free a market as USA, but what they are saying is that they would like to gradually decrease the amount of dependence on freebies and maybe someday do away with income tax. Sanjeev Sanyal has said this in an interview with Shekhar Gupta, that we do hope that someday we can completely abolish income taxes. So that would be a good thing. But other than that, capitalism means a lot of other things as well, which could be at best said. See, China is also in a way capitalist, but that's not capitalism. That's state-sponsored mercantilism. Capitalism, that word capitalism does not mean just free markets. It means a lot of extractive tendencies and stuff. But in what... capitalism right now is helping dharmic rule. In future, if dharma as we know it comes back in more... there is more magnitude of dharma in the society, then it's basically going to get back to Arthashastra, which is a counter to capitalism, and that won't be very... capitalism, if opposed to dharma, is going to lose that battle. I'm happy to share an independent artist his first time debuting as a music director. Okay. Agam Agarwalu, upcoming Bhojpuri, wow, pan-India film, Mahadev Ka Gorakhpur, and it sounds good, I see. Do react to its teaser, okay, today if we have time. The sovereign has to balance between capitalism and dharma. Like 70-30 split or 60-30, 65-35 split would be ideal, in my opinion, till food, energy, clothing and shelter is available to all members of the society. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, Shaptarshi Adhikari is saying, আচ্ছা দাদা, তোমার মনে হয় না মুখ্য নির্বাচন কমিশনের অ্যাপয়েন্টমেন্ট পদ্ধতিটা পরিবর্তন করা উচিত? বর্তমান প্রসিডিওরটা বড্ড গোলমেলে লাগে। I don't know much about it. He's asking, do I think the selection of the chief of the election commissioner should be different or not? I'm not educated enough on that to comment on it.
The crimes have begun, in some ways, not
Inexorably happen in India too.
Well, I think the crimes have begun, in some ways, not like the crimes of Germany, but the demonization, the otherization of the Muslim community. You saw that sort of genocidal language during the corona lockdown.
Okay, she's saying this for the third time or fourth time in the interview. She's mentioning that Sadhu Baba Yeyati or Dharm Sansad comment, for which he was arrested and then he got out on bail, because there was no actual plan in motion to kill anybody. That was just a statement randomly he made. That's why he was let go. Now, that one statement she's repeatedly saying, because she doesn't have any more examples. And other than that, actually this entire argument that she's making now is futile, because she said 10 minutes back in the interview, which you can see in our previous live stream, that she has said that right now there are fascistic tendencies, but the Indian population itself is in the end going to reject fascism. That is her prediction. And who is the Indian population? 80% Hindus. She's saying so indirectly she's saying that Hindus are being fascist and Hindus are going to reject fascism, which is what we can agree with 100%. So I don't even know what she's complaining about at the moment. Are you interested in Neuralink? I am interested, and it's also a fact that we can't escape from it now. It is going to take course. No one's going to be able to stay away from Musk's products in the modern world. Like Mr. Chavra says, we need capitalism to safeguard ourselves militarily and secure ourselves from dependence pressure of the West. So capitalism is necessary in full throttle for now, at least. Capitalism is forever important, because see, there are every question or answer or criticism depends. Its value depends on who is actually making that argument. So when a socialist says capitalism is bad, is not the same presumption when maybe Abhijit Chavra says capitalism may be not the only goal for us. Because at the end of the day, the basic core ethos of free market or free market capitalism is that people need incentives to do better in life. Incentives can't happen if you keep putting them down with licenses and high taxes, or in an effort to decrease income inequality, you create everyone equally poor, because no one can be equally rich in a country. So those ethos will have to remain, and those are, according to me, capitalism. So that will also always have to be here. Now Saptarshi Adhikari is saying, আচ্ছা মন্দির আগমা শাস্ত্র মেনে করা হতো নাকি শিল্পশাস্ত্র? How temples were built, he's asking, were temples built following Agam Shastra or Shilpa Shastra? I have no idea. I am about to read up on it, but I'll recommend you a book, which I haven't read yet myself, lol. But Vivek Debroy was saying design for temples probably came from Matsya Purana. So that's as far as I know about it. Other than that, I have a book from Hitesh Ranjan Shannal. It's a Bengali book. The book's name is Banglar Mondir. It's an entire document on how temples were built in Bengal, what were the philosophies, what were the architecture designs behind it. And he died long back, decades back. The book released this year. So his book has just come out. He didn't get his due appreciation when he was alive. Hitesh Ranjan Shannal.
Down where Tablighi Jamaat was blamed for, spreading typhus. Muslims were spitting on fruit and spreading corona, just like the Nazis blamed the Jews for spreading typhus. But then you had something like the National Register of Citizens.
I get it, people are blaming Muslims for some things, and some of it is justified blame, some of it may be unjustified. But why is she under the impression that no one blames Hindus for anything? What is her career based on? Do you think the people who subscribe to Arundhati Roy's thoughts are just innocent youngsters who just like justice and just hate anything bad happening? Yes. Unless they are above the age of 25 to 30, that is. After the age of 30, they are just ignorant. They have just not read anything other than Arundhati Roy. That's why they still like Arundhati Roy. There's a certain bit of hatred and jealousy for against right-wingers and people with culture and success in their lives. Which is why probably they think too much of an RSS guy saying something bad, for example. Yeah. Wait, comments are not ending. Shilpa Shastra is incorporated in Agam Shastra. Okay.
And the Citizenship Amendment Act, where, again, like the Nuremberg laws of 1935, citizens were expected to produce legacy papers which would be approved by the state, which would then grant you citizenship.
See, this is the problem with extrapolating. Their entire reason for asking Jews to present papers is completely different from the CAA. We are not even asking to kick out any legal Indian Muslims. Why can't we have proper immigration laws? Why can't we kick out illegal immigrants? What kind of an argument is that? They were not kicking out illegal Jewish immigrants. Nazis were not doing that. We are trying to do that.
Now, this sort of, like Hannah Arendt said, citizenship is the right to have rights. So when you shake that ground under people's feet, it's a terrible thing to do, regardless of who is on the list and who is off the list. You have detention.
No, it's not a terrible thing to do regardless of who is on the list and who is not on the list. It's a terrible thing to do only for the people who are on the list, and those people on the list are getting a rough end of the stick because their group is known for hating India, and they are coming from a country which hates India. And while they are here, they also say that our country already hates them. Then why are you coming to the country then? So that's things Arundhati Roy will have to realize.
Detention centers already being built in places like Assam and many other places. Of course, the millions of people who are already off the NRC cannot be accommodated in those detention camps. But it's somehow the idea in the national psyche that this is where you belong, you know. But I don't believe that the kind of massacres and killings that happened in Europe can happen in India. Because, as I said, I believe that given the history of this country, how the RSS came to be...
But haven't you contradicted yourself? You began your answer by saying those crimes already...
There, Karan Thapar is doing my work again.
Happening, and then you listed some of them, and now you're saying the opposite. You don't think they can happen.
Karan, you're really being ridiculous sometimes.
Yes, Karan Thapar is being ridiculous because in an effort to play the devil's advocate, Karan Thapar ended up making good arguments. Oh my god. And that is a very new thing for Arundhati Roy to experience. This is the first time someone is actually countering her. Oh, this is hilarious.
I'm saying not on the scale that happened in Europe, and that won't happen. Because,
why?
Because I believe that...
Why?
Given the history of Hindu nationalism in India, which started long ago, we did...
Guys, can we make something clear here? Guys, we need to appreciate what a great journalist Karan Thapar is. He is being fully honest. He is a good journalist and he has some views and he disagrees with some things. But here, he is doing his job so well. How many left-wing or liberal journalists do you think would do this kind of questioning to Arundhati Roy? All of them would be worshipping her if she went on saying this bullshit. And that's not what Karan Thapar is doing. So we really need to have... this is why sunlight is the best disinfectant. We don't even need to counter Arundhati Roy. Karan Thapar is countering Arundhati Roy because she's saying such insanely stupid things. And I read an interesting comment which I want to reply to. I hope JSD's second book is better than the first. The first is Two Lawyers Speak, non-common English for many to digest the book easily. It took me some time to read full book on UP's prosperity in Yogiji's first term versus to read a chapter of JSD's book. Yeah. Super Gogeta, I want to tell you this, that I understand your problem with the book. Firstly, second book is easier but tougher in other ways, okay? The first book's problem was that it was lawyer-like, but it felt differently to different people, okay? Some people did say that, Bhaiya, kya book likh diya, dictionary leke baithna pad raha tha. Some people said, wow, so lucidly explained, that's so good. I was somewhere in the middle. I had to read one or two chapters 1 or 2 times. I had to look up the dictionary 1 or 2 times. I actually had to look up the dictionary even for Sanjeev Sanyal's books. I never thought, I always thought I was good in English. Sanjeev Sanyal and Sai Deepak actually taught me that I am not that good in English. But the second book's thing is that all of a sudden his writing skill has improved so much. His writing now is so lucid that he's going to bombard you with information, okay? So the problem you're going to face in India, Bharat, Pakistan is that you won't be able to read 1 to 3 pages of the book, or maximum 2 pages at times. More than that in one sitting. You won't be able to read more than that. Because in the previous book, he was making, let's say, one argument and taking 15 pages to explain that argument elaborately, repeatedly, in different words. And he was saying in other words, and then giving another 5 paragraphs. Then he was saying, so therefore in short, then again 5 paragraphs of the same example. So that helps you understand decoloniality very well. But in this book, he's not going to do that. He's going to give you 1 or 2 lines of explanation. Then you are going to get 2 pages of just bombardment of information. And you are going to have to swallow that, absorb that, and contemplate about the implications of that. And you are going to be absolutely suffocated under the information barrage. So both are tough in their own ways. So I'm not saying he's bad. He has done a bad job of writing India, Bharat, Pakistan, because he did improve his writing skill. What can he do? There's so much to talk about. Ideally, if you wanted to make an easy book, India, Bharat, Pakistan alone could be 3 books. Because, do you know, if you don't own the book yet, India, Bharat, Pakistan is actually longer in length this way, longer in size than India that is Bharat. It's thicker than India that is Bharat. And also, the font size is way smaller than India that is Bharat's fonts. So actually India, Bharat, Pakistan, if you had a font size and page length like India that is Bharat, India, Bharat, Pakistan would be this thick. So it's huge amounts of information. Let's see. Akash Nayak, it's weird how our mind always tries to support the underdog even if they are wrong. Yeah. And in India, somehow Muslims are portrayed as underdogs. Yeah, I was discussing this with a friend yesterday that, see, slavery seems to be the monopoly of black people. Genocide seems to be the monopoly of Jewish people. And although Hindus have faced both of that. But that's at least understandable because black people have actually faced slavery and Jewish people have actually faced genocide. But Muslims are the only one who have conveniently given us the vibe of being victims without facing ever any of those things. Harappan people show a good level of urbanization, yeah, while Rig-Vedic people, according to Rig Veda, are probably rural people. So do you think Rig-Vedic people are precursors to Harappans? Yeah, of course. Because Bibilal's Rig-Vedic people has many conventionally Hindu lifestyle features in the archaeological remains. Don't worry, the Kashmir Files has opened many closed windows. Yeah, it has. Dost thou thinkst, Shakespeare has written, dost thou thinkst that Amit Shah canst freely carry out his ministerial duty under Modi Babu? Yes. Which Sanjeev Sanyal book has the easiest English and which one is the best? His easiest book is the one where he has written a collection of fictional short stories, which are very good, but you will understand that he wrote these in response to all the leftists and liberals he has met in his life. It's sort of a venting out and ranting of all the leftist problems he has faced and the kinds of people he has faced. So that one has the easiest language. But other than that, it's very easy language. It's nowhere near as tough as Sai Deepak's language, but 1 or 2 words I had to look up.
We did have to go through this tunnel, and we will come out of it. The country would have paid a price for it, but fascism will be a failed experiment in this country. This is
and who is going to make fascism fail? Unless it's the 80% of Hindus who don't want fascism. So there you go. She's complimenting Hindus again.
What I'm just saying. This is what I feel.
Is this something you're certain of, or something you're hoping will be the outcome?
This is something I feel as a person who lives in this country, who travels, who speaks to people, who has their eyes and ears open, who is listening to if you go and listen to what people are saying in villages and towns, in places like UP, where, in the last election you had this huge, blinding saffron wave.
Can I interrupt? What you're saying is that the Indian people who you know.
So guys, for context, she's saying that the blinding faith of Hindutva or saffronization in UP has stopped. So she was saying this in February 2022, and Yogi Adityanath came back to power in March 2022, and the Muslim vote increased from 7% to 8%, or 6% from 6% to 7%. So she was completely wrong on this, like everything else.
Are not communal. They will not turn upon brothers regardless of the fact those brothers are Muslim, Christian or whatever. And at the end of the day, the attempt by governments or RSS or whoever to try and communalize, to try and make this fascist will be resisted by the fact that the Indian people are not like that.
I believe that there will always be a rump of people that are like that, but I don't think that they will ultimately prevail in creating the kind of mayhem that happened in Europe.
I have to say, and I think this may be true of the audience, that I'm now a little confused.
They will ultimately prevail in...
Okay, so that small rump of people will actually prevail in creating a fascist narrative, but she just said that fascism will be rejected by the people. What is going on here? Okay, let's comment. No, not a rant book. Other than that, yeah, all of them are equally easy actually. And the 2008 book, which I mentioned in the last stream about India's economic history pre-1991, not economic history as in ancient India, but 47 to 1991. That book is actually a little more technical. You'll have to know some economics and finance terms and concepts at least, just basics. if you want to read that book. If you are from a non-pure arts background, you won't have a problem with that book. I'm from a pure arts background, so I had to thank God I had read and listened to Thomas Sowell a lot, otherwise I would not understand that book. But the history books are very easy to read. 1 or 2 words you'll have to look up in dictionary. Super Kolkata. So 450 price for second book is worth it. Absolutely. More concise, simpler language, bigger book, smaller font. Absolutely. Basically more words per rupee. Absolutely. I thought to buy after finishing first book. So sometime, then which one is best? Sanjeev Sanyal's book, Land of Seven Rivers. Chumu khawa uchit Karan Thapar Mahashayake. None hasn't conquered Arundhati Roy like him. Saptashi Adhikari is saying that we should be kissing Karan Thapar. And I can't disagree.
In creating the kind of mayhem that happened in Europe.
I have to say, and I think this may be true of the audience, that I'm now a little confused. Is there a danger, and a real one, of India becoming fascist under the RSS, BJP and Modi? Or is that going to be a failed attempt and therefore not a real danger because the Indian people
my God. Again, they are asking this.
Victims are not going to fall into that trap, are going to fight back.
Karan Thapar is so confused.
If the latter is true, that the Indian people are not communal, then the danger is not a big danger. It will be a failed attempt.
Oh my God.
Things
Karan Thapar
change.
destroys Arundhati
Things
Roy. What
change.
is going on?
So
That should have been the headline.
If the latter is true, that the Indian people are not communal, then the danger is not a big danger. It will be a failed attempt.
Things change, Karan. Things change. So you're like looking at things as if they're always fixed, you know. Things change. A river flows. We have been through something terrible. My own feeling is we're not out of...
We have been through something terrible. What does she mean? The Gujarat retaliation riots or partition? And who wanted partition?
of danger because we do not have a very robust opposition. But I feel that
people will save us.
People are coming to understand that somehow they fell into this way of thinking, but now they're...
Great. This statement is going to age really well. People are coming to understand that this narrative is not okay. And on the other hand, we have every day some guy saying that I used to be a communist, I used to be a leftist, I am very proud Hindu now.
Falling out of it because they have suffered greatly
so
under
we're climbing out of the hole.
I think
we're still in the hole, but we're climbing out of it.
I think it's a slippery slope. It's a
who is suffering greatly, Arundhati Roy?
Still dangerous, but I do think that Modi's star is falling. I do think so. It may not be this election, may not be the next election, but I don't think that this country is going to go down the way Europe did.
Oh my God.
There's one more point about fascism which you make in your Clark lecture, which I think is very relevant to the situation in India today. It's the relationship between fascism, fake news, and falsified history. You write, and I'm quoting you, fake news is the skeletal structure, the scaffolding over which the specious rot that fuels fascism drapes itself. The foundation on which that scaffolding rests is fake history, possibly the oldest form of fake news. In other words, fake news and fake history are integral both to the emergence and the growth of fascism.
Well, that's not some new theory of mine. People know that about fascism. But, history is today like current affairs. So what you have is mythology being turned into history, history being turned into mythology.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the previous stream as well. Mythology is being turned into history according to her, but we actually have different names for our texts, okay? Puranas, Upanishads, Itihasas. Itihasa means, in Sanskrit, it's itihasa, which means this is indeed what happened. Now, even though she doesn't have any evidence to prove that none of the incidents in Mahabharata and Ramayana or the stories, they didn't happen, but she is going to jump to the conclusion that they definitely didn't happen, even though they are saying that it happened. The people who wrote the book, they are categorizing it as itihasa. Okay. Is that happening apart from isolated cases like yours? Yeah, absolutely. If you check out any live chat comment sections, even in Sanjay Dikshit's videos, Kushal Mehra's podcast, Shamsharma's podcast, everyone is someone or the other saying that I used to think that I am the only one like that, but actually there are countless people going through that. How did Wire even give him this job? Why is he not nodding and agreeing? Did Wire? Yeah, absolutely mishired.
Mythology decimated by WhatsApp University, by TV serials, by movies. It's like some kind of cheap course that is
So WhatsApp University, Sanjeev Sanyal is WhatsApp University, Vikram Sampath is WhatsApp University, Sitaram Goel is WhatsApp University, all Indian historians are WhatsApp University, and only Romila Thapar is and Muhammad Habib and Irfan Habib are the kings of history.
intravenously administered. But the more important thing is that the absurdity of that history sort of hides another more problematic story, which is a story more sophisticated and told about the history of India, but a history that elides the stories of women, the stories of other genders, other sexualities.
That job is being done by Indian historians, glorifying Indian queens and Indian Brahmavadinis. I had never heard of women like Gargi and Maitreyi and Lopamudra before the Indian right wing came to power. I was always taught about Akbar and only Rani Lakshmibai, and that was all. Other than that, only I learned about male Indian Muslim kings and Rana Pratap too. I guess I had one chapter. So who's bringing up the great women of the past? It's the Indian right wing. And that Saffron Swords, that Assamese lady who has written, I think, 2 parts of Saffron Swords glorifying specifically Indian female Indian warriors. What's her name? Monisha something.
Stories of caste, the stories of Ambedkar, Phule, Savitribai Phule, Birsa.
Yeah, and Ambedkar. What has Ambedkar said about the partition? Has she read Pakistan or Partition of India?
Munda, Ayyankali.
What's the point? There's loads of examples. What's the point?
So my point is that there is
Karan Thapar is frustrated now.
A sort of master narrative, that with all these other narratives intersecting. So in the story of history as current affairs, caste is an engine that runs our society. So today, UP elections are happening. Everyone is a scholar on caste, on the minute caste vote banks. But otherwise, we don't talk about it. Or you can talk about...
But I'm slightly lost. What's the point?
My point is...
Nobody talks about caste other than elections. What? Liberals and leftist academicians, family and profession and bread and butter depends on caste and talking about caste. What is she talking about? Let's take some questions. She's basically saying Modi will lose not next 2 terms. When he gets old, you don't say Sharla. An old leader has to make way for the next gen. Exactly. Even I didn't know about Rishika's or Vedas. And even theoretically, basically prostitutes of by today's words, like Nagar Vadhu, Amrapali. Saptarshi Adhikari is saying Bhadramila সবসময় একটু হাসতে থাকেন কেন, একটু সিরিয়াস ভাবে কথা বলতে পারেন তো. Saptarshi Adhikari is saying that why is this woman always smiling, why isn't she speaking a little more seriously? Because she knows she's being countered by Karan Thapar so viciously that humor is her coping mechanism at the moment. Friendly Vimana, whenever someone says Ramayana is not mythology, some think that we are saying Hanumanji used to fly. What's counter to that? Valmiki's version, the only historical account of Ramayana, clarified. Yeah, there was glorification and supernatural elements added to it. So who said that history has to be exact details and you can't make a story out of it? And Bibek Debroy was saying somewhere that what's the place of history in society? Even that's different in every society. So Vivek Debroy is saying that in Indic ethos, history is something that should be relevant in modern times. And if history is taught through stories and as a result we understand history better, what's the problem with that? They are just making those things interesting. They're just glorifying it a little extra with those extra super physical characteristics. Because is it anyone's argument that the history that is taught in schools that is more interesting than Mahabharata and Ramayana? So who did a better job of teaching history? The writers who wrote the history books we read in school, or the people who wrote Mahabharata and Ramayana? They made interesting, beautiful stories out of those histories.
That there is other kinds of fake news, not just the Hindutva fake news. So you have, for example, you have a society where
liberals have this entire school of thought that says that teaching through stories, healing through stories. They are all about stories in order to tell real life incidents. What is Arundhati Roy's profession? She writes fictionalized stories about hating India, where bad things that have been done by people. She uses the help of fiction to do it. Now, and that is the same thing in a way done by our historians, but they were depicting real incidents, real people, real kingdoms with just supernatural physical capabilities. That doesn't negate the existence of those people, kingdoms, and incidents. But crossing over sea can only be done by flying. If by boat, then anyone can do that. So probably there's a flaw. Crossing over sea can only by... Well, there's actually the Ram Setu.
Talk about Dalits who make up the
Wait,
entire...
I think I missed one question. Akash Nayak. I knew history books are biased when my class 10 history books had 15 pages on Gandhi, but only 3 pages on Netaji. Yes, of course. Entire history books are about where Gandhi was on which date. Or the sea wasn't that deep, just shallow at the area. तब तो सभी वानरों को यही से yeah, of course, geography was different because when did the incidents of Ramayana happen? Maybe 7,000, 8,000 years back. The geography could have been very different. Or even if Vivek Debroy was saying that roughly the Kurukshetra war, according to him, has happened in 1300 BC. So let's say Ramayana happened about 1 or 2,000 years before that. But there isn't enough research to explain these things properly. And these people haven't done the research. No one has done these researches. So we should fund people who want to do this research. Instead of doing the research, they are saying that there's no point in the research. I'm sure that none of this happened. That's the problem.
Sanitation, workforce who are dying in manholes. But caste is not just about oppression, okay? It's also about entitlement. Why not? No. One sec, hold on.
But no, the point you're answering is the relationship between fake news, false history, and fascism. That's what I want you to explain. Is that a particular danger at the moment?
Fake news is not just about fake facts. Fake news is about a fake narrative. So I'm saying that we have a narrative where, like, you don't want to talk about caste. I want to talk about it. I want to say, let's look at the politicians, Modi, he hates dynastic politics, okay. But aren't the big industrialists dynasts? So why don't you ask about the caste of the judges in this country? Why don't we ask, what is the caste of these 100 people who own half the wealth of this country? They all come from a particular background.
But that's not the question I asked you.
It is. It's important to understand that the elite media does not want to ask these questions.
No, but the question that I asked was about the relationship.
Yes, because caste, if caste is at all related to economics, which it is, so the only way to help poor people who may be Brahmins or Shudras is free markets or Hindu unity, both of which are being done by BJP and especially Yogi Adityanath, and both of which are hated by Marxists who pretend to love poor people and help them. They have taken every step to keep poor people poorer. Got your point, okay. Shravya, books by Sai Swarupa Iyer are also good. She has written some books on Draupadi, Rukmini, Mauri, Vishi and Abhaya, okay. Gagan Patil. In the stories, Kurus and Bharatas came after Janaka, but in reality it is the other way around. We need to admit that there are distortions and glorification, but those stories were philosophized. And see, we have to read unabridged critical versions of Mahabharata, preferably in Sanskrit, and if you don't know Sanskrit, then in English or whatever language you understand, and only then we should draw conclusions. And I'm going to quote repeatedly Vivek Debroy on these things. He was saying that Mahabharata was written over 1,000 years. The initial story, I guess, was called Jaya. Then it was called Bharata. Then it became Mahabharata. Neelkant Oak, has also written a book on the dating of I think it's Nilesh Oak, right. Why are they talking about castes? Then why don't we also speak about the caste system of Muslims, the Sayyids and all? She doesn't even know that exists. Because I have actually spoken to sociology masters, people who have done sociology masters in Kolkata. They even didn't know that there was casteism in Muslims until I told them about ashrafs.
Between fake news, fascism and false history, and how that is particularly a pertinent point to make about India today, where we have an awful lot of fake news.
This is a kind of fake news, Karan. that you are eliding the kind of entitlement of a society that is almost like apartheid. Where
Oh
a
my
very
God.
and
Okay.
and the we can laugh about
Notice another extrapolation. It's like apartheid. It's like fascism. There's no actual apartheid. There's no actual fascism. It's only like those things. It's like that same thing. I go to the toilet in the morning, and so does Karl Marx. So I'm a Marxist.
the mythology and the fake news of the Hindu right, but there is another more sophisticated narrative which is equally problematic.
In other words, a lot of what we believe is news, a lot of what we want to talk about is actually fake. Either it's just a lie, or it's a refusal to recognize.
Yeah, or it's a project of unseeing, a refusal to recognize, which is a sort of fakery in itself.
That's what I said.
Yes.
Either it's an outright lie, or
But Modi came to power in 2014. If we take into account that those lies, some things are being ignored now, but then she's agreeing that those has not been ignored until 2014. So where did that knowledge disappear all of a sudden from the people who did know about these things, which since it was not ignored until 2014 apparently, let's say the caste problems. So people all of a sudden forgot it that, oh, there is a caste problem. So what magic happened in 2014 in the minds of people? She wants us not to be fascist communists, but points that Modi is not doing anything against big industrial houses. What does she want, capitalism or communism? She just wants to complain. Yes, which is why I was asking everyone to watch 21 Notes. He is making Valmiki Ramayana in easy to understand format and animated form, I see. Dispelling all the illogical parts like Vanar. Okay. So much caste discrimination according to her, but here in Kolkata. Oh, you are from Kolkata. High caste people change their caste by paying 15k to the municipality and get a SC certificate. Damn, I didn't know.
it's a refusal to recognize and see.
Yes.
There's one last aspect of Modi's India that I want to raise with you, and it's by no means unconnected to the fascism we're talking about. It's Kashmir. Again, in your Jonathan Shell Memorial Lecture, you say of the Kashmiri people, and I'm quoting, why should they want to be part of India? For what earthly reason? If freedom is what they want, freedom is what they should have. Can you explain that further?
Yeah, well, Kashmir is, Kashmir is a valley covered in graveyards, But first of all, we can't lay...
Valley covered in graveyards, not valley covered in funeral pyres, because their bodies were thrown in the lakes.
Of what has happened over the last 30 years in Kashmir at Modi's door. It started way before he was ever there. But now, with the abrogation of Section 370, it has entered another sphere. But the story of Kashmir, the story of those mass disappearances, the story of the summary executions, the story of...
Up until this point, you won't be able to guess whether she's talking about Kashmiri Hindus or Muslims, okay?
The horrors that have been visited upon those people has been...
Those people meaning maybe Kashmiri Hindus.
From the Indian public. Because what the story of Kashmir is...
Hidden from Indian public, yeah. Up until 2014, I didn't even know something happened in Kashmir with Hindus. When Anupam Kher used to first come on Times Now and do little monologues about 2-3 minutes right before an Arnab Goswami show. Times Now really gave Anupam Kher that platform. And that's when I first heard the phrase Kashmiri Pandits. Then I heard that something bad happened to them. So, who was hiding atrocities before 2014? So much caste discrimination. Oh, okay, I've read this.
Through a very bigoted nationalist media. I actually believe that if many Indians really knew what was going on, they would think differently. But
that is actually the problem that you are facing, Arundhati Roy. People now know what's going on.
That is why Kashmir is the valley from which no news must come. That is why Kashmiri journalists have been silenced, are being arrested, are being threatened. That is why Khurram Parvez, one of the most wonderful, bright human beings that I know, whose organization has documented in chilling detail what has happened, is in jail now. So I really feel...
You think even Kashmiri terrorists are great persons. You even know them personally, and your picture is in my thumbnail. So how to trust you?
Feel that, this thing that you quote, I wrote after the abrogation of Section 370, when tens of thousands of Kashmiris were in jail, including, by the way, pro-India chief ministers. Because now you can't just be pro-India.
If you want to know about the pro-Indianness of those chief ministers, you need to read Sanjay Dikshit's book in Unbreaking India, okay? You will know the entire history of that family, how pro-India they are.
to be pro-BJP, including journalists, activists. Thousands were in jail, the internet was cut, the phones were down, the valleys sewn up in barbed wire. And from that vast prison, they are looking at what India is doing with Muslims here. While their land is occupied, while their history is being erased. If you were in their position...
History is being erased. I thought history was being manufactured. History is being erased and manufactured at the same time.
What would you think of? What would you want? What would you dream of? What would you desire?
You're saying they dream of freedom.
Yes.
And you're saying if they want it, they should have it.
Yes.
Do you think
just because someone wants a separate nation, they should have it? That's Arundhati Roy's argument today.
Separation of Kashmir from the rest of India would be the best thing for them?
I think that it's not in my place, in truth, to say what Kashmiris want. But I think there should be a mechanism where it's not just about what India wants and Pakistan wants, but what Kashmiris want. And I think there can be a new imagination if you want to solve the problem, but you don't.
So basically anyone can come to any place and kick those people out and then demand a different country. That's her argument. What part of Hinduism is your favorite? Philosophy or just history, spirituality and emotional support system? What I actually want to know is that, are you interested in spirituality? I've never been religious. Spirituality, I think by default every Indian is spiritual, and all the other things you mentioned, yes, basically all of those things, not any one of those. Wasn't 370 a temporary law that ceded too much power to the state, especially a border state? The fact it ran for 70 years itself should be appalling to the average Indian. Super Gogeta, in this context, her argument would be that it was meant to be temporary if the problem was solved. In her opinion, the problem wasn't solved and the oppression of the Muslims maybe didn't end. That's why it was justified that it went on for so long. Because I would like to know how someone who likes spirituality can become a leftist. How would that even work? Well, like Sai Deepak has given examples of his friend in IIT Kharagpur, who was a staunch Keralian or Bengali Marxist, and he used to do Shakti Puja every morning loudly. That entire place used to vibrate with his puja. So leftists have this disconnect that because they have the religious people who are communists, they think that communism is about helping poor people, and so is Hinduism about having empathy for poor people. So they are the one and the same things. That's how they justify their hypocrisy.
Want to retain
and that new imagination
problem
emerges from the acceptance that they want freedom, they have a right to it, let them have it.
I think we don't need to put words into their mouths, right? Instead of silencing them, we should let them speak.
Who is this them? Why is this them only from one religion? When's the them going to include other people? Why are you invisibilizing Hindus, Arundhati Roy?
And hear what they're saying and grant what they want.
Yes.
And that's freedom.
Again, let them say it. No? Why don't you ask them and let them? Why should me and
let
you
them say it as if we don't know what they've said. Now they are going to say it for the first time.
Deciding what they want.
You also make a very, I would say, disturbing comment about the relationship between Kashmir and the rest of India. You write, Kashmir may not defeat India, but it will consume India. And one of the characters from your book, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, Musa Yazvi, says something very similar. He says, one day Kashmir will make India self-destruct in the same way. I presume in the same way as India is making Kashmir self-destruct. You're not just destroying us.
Arundhati Roy, your dreams are never going to come true.
You are constructing us. It's yourselves that you are destroying. In other words, the bell that tolls in Kashmir is actually tolling for the rest of India as well.
So Musa is one of the characters in my novel, and he's talking to a person called Biplov Dasgupta, who's a very brilliant, actually, but jaded intelligence officer. So what he's saying is that when you steal oxygen from the air, you're left with carbon dioxide, a sort of different kind of carbon footprint, if you like, which he's talking about the moral corrosion of digesting what is being done in our names in Kashmir. But there's also a kind
Everything she's saying about Kashmiri Muslims is applicable for Kashmiri Hindus. Okay.
Institutional corrosion, It's like, for example, there's 500,000 soldiers, I think, in Kashmir, manning patrolling a place where, by their own admission, there are like just a handful of militants. So the real enemy is the people. As Doval said, civil society is the new frontier. Just like Amit Shah said when he was changing.
Yes, because civil society like you just said 30 seconds ago that Kashmir is going to engulf India and India is going to get destroyed because of what we did to Kashmir. Yeah, WhatsApp scientist.
UAPA and said that individuals and writers and people like that are more dangerous than terrorists. Now,
not more
you have
dangerous.
That army, a fighting army, converted into a kind of bloated administrative force, almost like doing police work, which is very dangerous and destructive for an army. Then
so why isn't that happening where you live, Arundhati Roy? You don't live in Kashmir. What's the difference between where you live and Kashmir? Why are governments having to send so many soldiers there? What's the difference? Does the Indian government have extra money to spend? चलो कुछ पैसा है थोड़ा चलो soldier भेज देते हैं कश्मीर में. What's the similarity between places where there are heavy militarizations in everywhere in the world? What's the thing going on over there? Do you think the assumption that someday Kashmiri Pandits will be able to return to their home in near future, since it was part of BJP's manifesto, a very very far-fetched assumption? ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? I think it will have to be declared a separate state. Jammu has to become a separate state. Panun Kashmir. While most of the people on left is in favor of USE, Sai Deepak is completely against it. So what's I stand? The thing is that I haven't read the exact law. Sai Deepak has. And I think on principle, Sai Deepak is saying that, as we have seen from other laws, it's going to come back to haunt Hindus. Because at the end of the day, someone else has street power. Hindus don't have street power. If something does not work for them, they are going to manage it with street power. Hindus are not going to stand up for any problems that they face with street power. So, if at all, now Kushal Mehra says that he has also read USCC and there's nothing that Hindus have to be worried about. So, I haven't read it. So, I'll have to wait for a debate between Kushal Mehra and Sai Deepak. How would that help? Please elaborate. You mean separation of Kashmir, right? The Hindus can happily live in Jammu, and people who want a separate country can still fight it out with the Indian army.
After that, you have a situation where you have. Of course, you have we spoke of the press being silenced in Kashmir. You saw what in the papers, I think yesterday it was, where Indian journalists are going to lose their accreditation if they are anti-national, which again means anti-BJP. And now look.
No, anti-national does not mean anti-BJP. Anti-national means asking for a different country.
The army, after those irresponsible remarks that Amit Shah made in Parliament, poking the Chinese dragon in the eye, you have a situation where the army is strung across two frontiers. People, soldiers, hundreds of thousands of soldiers have to operate at altitudes of minus 30, minus 40.
Yeah, toxic masculinity.
They may not be fighting China, but they're already fighting a war against the elements.
So you're saying the way in which...
No,
yes, they are hard, tough men.
That army in place, even if there's no war, in a country which is falling into poverty, into hunger. It is just, that's a kind of, let's say, a very stupid way of causing, triggering a kind of stretching of resources.
If I understand correctly, what you're saying is the way in which we are compromising our constitutional commitments, values, principles, our democracy by the treatment of Kashmir, which, as you say, goes back 30, 40 years, well before Mr. Modi came to power. But that process of undermining our values in Kashmir will soon begin to affect the same values in the mainland.
Yes,
it will soon affect the way we behave, the way we treat ourselves, the way we treat our democracy, our journalists, our activists, our freedom fighters in the rest of India.
You're seeing it very clearly already.
Clearly.
This is what you mean when you say Kashmir may not defeat India.
We are seeing these things so clearly that it took her 49 minutes to get to the point.
But it will consume India.
It is consuming India, corroding us,
This is what you mean when you say you're not destroying us, you're constructing us because we're making them bold and strong to demand their freedom. But on the other hand, you're destroying yourself.
That is what Musa is saying, because, it's in...
That is what Musa is saying. That's not what Arundhati Roy is saying. Oh my God. She's now passing the buck to her fictionalized characters. Kushal doesn't even want to call JSD to debate. That probably will never happen. And I heard someone had commented in one of my live chats that I think Sai Deepak has said that he doesn't want to go to their podcast because of some stupid crass comment they made about some Indian god or goddess. I don't know. Someone had commented it. Akash Naik. I think every Indian should watch ex-Muslim channels to understand from where these fundamentalists are deriving their fundamentals from. That's an important point, because fundamentals of the religion explain what the fundamentalist of that religion will be like, and all her extrapolations are problematic, because fundamentals of Christianity or fundamentals of Nazism is not the same as fundamentals of Hinduism. So obviously a Hindu fundamental is different from a Christian fundamentalist or a Nazi or fascist, deriving their fundamentals from. And also, you don't need to just watch ex-Muslim channels. Sanjay Dixit is the king of that genre. But the genocide that happened was of those Kashmiri Pandits used to live in Kashmir Valley. How would they return to their homes if they are bargained to settle in Jammu? Yeah, they are not going to go to that exact building that they lived in. That's not going to happen. I'm saying they are going to get back to Kashmir. We Hindus should not be seen as collaborative with ex-Muslims. Let's let the sunlight disinfect. And also, there's one thing about ex-Muslims, since there's a huge statistics these days saying that a lot of people are leaving Islam. But our concern is not people leaving Islam and then becoming atheists, because what atheists will do is they'll say that see, we left our religion because it was bad and now all religions are equally bad. That's what they're going to say. That doesn't help us.
Musa, I take it, is voicing a thought that the author shares.
Well, that is another huge debate, Karan, of literature.
No, because it echoes what you wrote in the Jonathan Shah lecture. Kashmir may not defeat India, it will consume India. Musa saying the same thing.
Yeah, it is true. But when you read what Biplab Dasgupta says, then you'll say that is also what the author thinks, which is true, because literary authors
so let me
and
end then very
novel
quickly,
writers
because we've
bad.
been over a
Finally.
whole gamut of issues, and the audience will want a little bit of clarity. Are you worried about the future of India, or actually do you see signs? Because you agreed that we're in a hole, but we're climbing out. And when you're climbing out of a hole, the picture is getting better. So is it getting better? Is it improving? Or is it deeply depressing and worrying?
Well, I think it depends on what view you take. Right now...
What
if
view do you take? Give me
No,
your
what
view.
I'm saying is right now, when you think about it from day to day, from week to week, when you're watching people being arrested, silenced, beaten up, all of that, it's extremely depressing. But I do feel when I climb a tree and look out, that it will end. It will end.
Yes, because it's a majority Hindu country who doesn't believe in fascism.
And that is the only way it will end. Because one or two people, one politician...
Because the fundamentals of
some
Hinduism are
won't end it.
different.
The people will end it.
Yes,
So
the
your
people
faith
are
is actually
Hindu.
in the Indian people.
Yes.
The Indian people will continue their commitment to secularism, to fraternity, to
Because
treating
they are
each other
Hindu.
properly, to living amicably, no matter how much they're tempted or led astray by governments of the day.
You put a lot of words in my mouth. I'm not saying all that. I don't think Indian people are beautiful, wonderful people who love each other and hug each other. They'll continue to have these problems. Indian people also did fall into fascism. They also did behave in terrible ways. But I think they are realizing now that it is at their own cost.
So they're self-correcting.
So I think they will self-correct. But we still have lots of things that we'll have to self-correct about.
Arundhati Roy, thank you very much for this comprehensive answer to the question I began with. What sort of...
Arundhati Roy, thank you very much for giving such hilarious content for my YouTube channel. And thank you, The Wire, for not hitting my channel with copyright. Let's check out something else. We got some time. How long has it been? How long have we been going for? What is stopping him from interviewing JSD? I think the fact that I want, except that comment I heard that someone said that JSD is not going to come to his show because they have said something crass about some Indian god or goddess. Let's see if I can find something else to talk about today. I got some more time in my hand. But let's stick specifically to Arundhati Roy because the video title says that. Let's see if she has ever debated anyone. You'll never see any footage of Arundhati Roy debating anyone. Me Too Urban Naxal goes offline with Arundhati Roy, Jignesh Mevani, Aruna Roy, other activists. Any debate of Arundhati Roy? I don't think there is. Then we'll have to end this live stream. Arundhati Roy asks Indians to lie in census over NPR. Okay, and there's one thing I wanted to say about something Abhijit Chavda mentioned in his video, that Indians love Israel. Does Israel love India? In that, he said that how the Romani people, who are the descendants of basically most probably Rajasthanis and Gujaratis, who were dragged away by Islamic invaders as slaves, and then horrible things have happened to Romani people forever, and they have been sold off, killed forever for the last 1000 or 800 years. And they are basically Hindus and descendants of Hindus who don't even remember that, but they have some civilizational memory of those things about in Romani culture. Their clothes, their attires are very, very much like Rajasthanis and Gujaratis. But there's one interesting thing Abhijit Chavda said, which he didn't understand the meaning of that word. I understand it because that word is still used in Bengali, okay? So he said that they even, so there was some legendary Jewish intellectual who had suppressed the Romani genocide also done by Nazis. And that guy was of the opinion that the word Holocaust and all these ideas should be exclusively reserved for Jews. The fact that Romanis were also killed by Nazis is not important because they are stupid brown people, etc. But Abhijit Chavda mentioned that the word for genocide in Romani culture is Kalitras. Okay, they pronounce it like that obviously today. But let me tell you, Kali obviously means either the goddess Kali or black, so darkness. Trash in Bengali means a very dangerous and oppressive ongoing thing. So you understand the meaning of Kali Trash, like the wrath of darkness or the wrath of goddess Kali. So you see how much the Romani culture is Indian. And look at their flag. Look at the Romani flag. Let me cast it here. Look at the flag of Romani people. See, the Dharma Chakra. That's their civilizational memory. They still remember that this is part of their culture. Then there's the goddess Kali Sera. This is a Romani goddess. They worship Kali Sera. Her name is Kali and Sera because they became Christian after going to Europe. But they actually worship her and then throw her in the sea. They are essentially Kali worshippers even to this day. This is insane. You can react to Kashmir Files actual stories video with actual interviews with genocide survivors, which just dropped 2 days ago on Abhishek Agarwal Art's channel. Okay, let's check that out. There's another suggestion coming in. Wait. Let me read the comment. You can react to I work, therefore I'm short documentary. It's not related to politics though. What's it about? Which video? The actual survivors? Can't be sure from this. These are Kartikeya 2 things. I wonder where it is. The most recent one. Do you mean this one?
दोस्तों कुछ लोगों को सच जैसा है
This
वैसा
is
ही
just
देखने
Anupam Roy's comments, obviously. No, can't find much. Let's check out this thing. Let's check out what Sai Deepak said in his recent speech. 20-minute plus video, but I can't find that video. Where's it, friendly Vimana? Where's the 20-minute video? Was it live or something? No, these are all Kartikeya 2 videos. There's no 20-minute long video here. Where did it go? Let's check out Sai Deepak's speech in IIT Kharagpur. And engineering colleges have always have the worst audio systems, and their mic was not working for the first few minutes. So we'll have to bear that.
की ज्ञान परंपराएं,
at least I'll tell you what my approach was. A society which is colonized, conscious of its colonization.
Okay, this is not going to work. Okay, I have one great idea. We need to check out this video. कहाँ लिंक भेजा? Let's check this out.
Pleasure to read. Recommended to all. It's called the India Way.
This one is a great interview,
I'm
guys.
sure many
Let's
of
check
you have
this out.
actually read it, because I can see from the commentary on Amazon.com that it has been extremely widely read.
Why there are so few right-wing historians? Because funding is a big issue. When in order to become a mainstream historian, you have to you have to read and study mainstream academic history, which is not right-wing. So where are we going to read the right-wing history in order for someone to become a right-wing historian? As for becoming a right-wing historian out of personal efforts, that's always going to be a rarity, which is why we have people like Sanjeev Sanyal and Vikram Sampath, etc., and Sitaram Goel. But people like those will always be fewer in number. And the people who are getting an entire state machinery's support and funding, those people will be higher in number. You see, even on the leftist historians who became historians just by their personal passion, that number is also very low or about zero. All the leftist historians we know, they became historians because of our tax money. All the right-wing historians we know are becoming historians out of their own passion and taking time from other professional commitments and becoming historians. And then there's an issue of English fluency, then mainstream English publications not giving them platforms, all sorts of things. This video is just repetition of what he has already said. Kind of true, but actually this video is important because this is actually a mainstream professor of a mainstream giant university, and even he is being handled so aptly by S. Jayashankar. That's why this interview is important.
One of the best sellers.
and my Gujarati edition just came out.
Gujarati edition just came
So bear that in mind.
Okay, so we should have editions in the remaining 20 languages of India as well.
No,
they will be coming.
By the way, the Tamil edition, Hindi edition had already come out. So
Okay,
you
all right.
yeah.
So, all right. So in the book, you know, I want to
Someday
start with
to
something very
react to
interesting you
Mahadev
say.
का गोरखपुर teaser. हाँ वो देख लेते हैं. But didn't that happen? So he came up with his own Atma Rama version. Agam Agarwal tried to collab with Brodha, but that didn't happen. So he came up with his own Atma Rama version. Let's check out what this is. Mahadev ka Gorakhpur. I hope my channel doesn't get copyright now. Oh, that.
तो फाइनली दोस्तों बॉलीवुड
अरे
या
ये
फिर
ट्रेलर
साउथ
नहीं
सिनेमा
था।
इंडस्ट्री जो कि
इसीलिए सोच रहा था कि ऐसा म्यूजिक कहाँ से मिल गया। ट्रेलर कौन सा है? ऑफिशियल ट्रेलर रवि किशन, ये बोल के डायलॉग अपलोड कर दिया। अगम अग्रवाल चैनल, ओके। ऐसे पोर्ट्रेट मोड में दिया है क्या? Nice music. Distortion guitars getting mainstream. Okay, this is a teaser. Ravi Krishnan. Whoa. Amazing. Does anyone know what's the story? Is it a story about Shiva, like Amish Tripathi's stories? That was insane. Let's see if any comments came. Jaishankar is absolutely witty, man, and he's like perfectly chosen person. Yeah. This isn't it, Agam Agarwal's channel. This is Abhishek Agarwal Arts channel. YouTube is not showing the link. How can I send it to you? They have removed it from channel. Only the link can be shared. Okay, the link can't even be shared in Instagram. So right now it can't be done. Let me know what's the exact name of the video, then maybe we can find it. शिवजी की मूंछ. Have you all seen this? The way he destroyed Salman Khurshid. And have you all seen the Times Now Summit video of Anand Ranganathan versus CPIM's Mohammad Salim? Even they got destroyed. Mohammad Salim is known to be a very big debater in Bengal. And since he also lives in his echo chamber, this is the first time he met an actual opposition. And he ended up saying that, no, this is Islamophobia. That was hilarious. Story not yet revealed, but happy to see an independent artist to debut as music director of big budget movie. Yeah. Let's check this. See Sai Deepak's arguments.
It's always a pleasure to host.
They are going to give me copyright. I want to watch Sai Deepak's this speech once again. This is one of Sai Deepak's best book launch speeches. Every speech these days Sai Deepak seems to give becomes his life's best speech. You all have obviously seen, I hope, this one. There was another insane one. And these guys ask such great questions.
You have, at several places in your book, quoted Ayesha Jalal and her work, Partisans of Allah. So, in that work, she has tried to argue that the normal definition of jihad as a war against unbelievers is a misinterpretation of the clerics. So how far do you align with that position? What's your take
So
on
here's
it?
what I have done. I have used let's say most of these sources primarily for factual references, not for opinion-based references.
Right.
Because I don't think I would want
That is the difference between a leftist historian and Sai Deepak in the first place.
to assume that I know better about Islam than Shah Waliullah Dehlavi, who's been celebrated by so many people. I don't want to believe that I know Islam better than the founders of Deoband. I'm sure they know better. I don't want to sit and operate under the belief or this delusion that an untrained opinion is more qualified to speak on behalf of a particular community than a trained scholar who's chosen to dedicate his entire life to the, let's say, to the practice of that particular faith, to the understanding of that particular faith.
Exactly. This is Sai Deepak's humility.
So that's one aspect of it. So therefore, whether it's Ayesha Jalal or Barbara Metcalf or any of these people who have relied upon the book,
Mic ko kya ho gaya?
I've used them for factual references. So if you take a look at the footnotes, where there's a fact, there's a footnote, by and large. But However, that argument cannot be applied.
This guy's video got monetized even with pirated footage. Nice. Wait, let's see this from the actual book launch. Sai Deepak book launch, Delhi University, right? Let's see it from there. This one was a great speech. I hope this is it. Oh fuck. Every channel is getting monetized because of Sai Deepak. The Kashmir Files, Journey for Justice, Abhishek Agarwal, Vivek Agnihotri. Okay, we'll see that as well. The Kashmir Files, Journey for Justice. कहाँ है? अभिषेक अग्रवाल उड़ा दिया क्या वीडियो? Still I can't find it. अजीब बात है.
4 years phase of Hindu-Muslim unity, it is only this 5-year period and nothing beyond.
So,
Filter by upload date. Okay, I'll check it. Not available for me either. Let's listen to this. ठीक है, दूसरे दिन ढूंढ के देख लेंगे.
I don't want to believe that I know is.
I'm going to get copyright.
Better than the founders of Deoband. I'm sure they know better. I don't want to sit and operate under the belief or this delusion
डर गया.
that an
Vimanan.
untrained opinion.
I think they are afraid of some backlash. That's why they unlisted it. Or what else might be the reason?
More qualified to speak on behalf of a particular community than a trained scholar who's chosen to dedicate his entire life to the, let's say, to the practice of that particular faith, to the understanding of that particular faith.
Right.
I don't want to do that. So that's one aspect of it. So therefore, whether it's Aisha Jalal or Barbara Metcalfe or any of these people who have relied upon in the book, I've used them for factual references. So if you take a look at the footnotes, where there is a fact, there is a footnote, by and large. But where there is an opinion, I am drawing my inferences based on the conduct and the material.
Right.
Unless I'm saying, well, somebody else also agrees with me for so-and-so reasons. So that's the first level of the response.
Yeah, that is the difference between the first book and the second book. The first book, he was explaining a lot of stuff based on some facts. The second book is fact after fact after fact from people on that side of the aisle, and then he's just drawing 2 or 3 lines of conclusions.
Second, let's apply the very same logic in the context of the Varnashram system and the so-called caste system. Assume for a moment someone wants to tell you that this is not the manner in which the system was created in the first place.
This is a very important point.
This is not the manner in which the system was intended to operate in the first place. आप जितना भी लॉजिक या तर्क खड़ा करने की कोशिश कीजिए, लेकिन आपके सामने सिर्फ पहले फैक्ट आएगा. So you're bound to ask yourself.
Yeah, this point is very important. This is why Sai Deepak's ideas are so fresh. He's saying that, let's say we argue that this is not what the caste system was intended to be. It has been distorted. We will have to judge it on the basis of what is happening on the ground level. So in the same way, there's no point arguing that maybe Islam was not meant to be this way. Maybe Islam actually means something else. But what is happening on the ground, that is more important. So that's the same with casteism.
No matter what you say, does the reality on the ground meet your explanation? Your only argument can be the reality on the ground has moved far away from its original intent.
Okay.
However, that argument cannot be applied in the context of jihad because this has been the consistent implementation from the 8th century onwards at the very least.
Right. Thought continuum.
Anyone who is given an opinion to the contrary is an exception.
Yeah.
And every time someone points out an exception, he is only strengthening the existence of the rule. Because that means एक कायदा है जिससे आप थोड़ा हटके जा रहे हैं, लेकिन अगर आप डिपार्चर या डाइग्रेशन की बात करेंगे, that means you are basically saying there is an average, there is a median, and there is a rule.
Yeah, and someone might say that how do you know that's an exception and not the rule? By sheer numbers. How many people are saying that inside the group or community, and how many people are saying the other thing? So what Sai Deepak is claiming to be the exception is obviously very few in number, therefore.
So as far as I am concerned, I am not interested in doing a BKK exercise, Bal ki khal kheenchna exercise, as far as jihad is concerned. I am going to look at it only from an effect point of view and an impact point of view,
Ground
as
level.
a survivor of a community who has witnessed this and experienced this for generations together.
Yeah.
Now I would like to see कितने फतवे ऐसे जारी हुए हैं and कितने लोग ऐसे फतवों को मानते हैं और उस पे अमल करते हैं.
Yeah.
So you have this gentleman Mehdi Hassan in his so-called...
Can you believe who we are descendants of? Can you believe the descendants, our ancestors, who gave jizya and still remained Hindus? The people who are Hindus today are the descendants of the best, toughest, bravest chads of the society. They decided that no, there's no way I'm quitting Hinduism. Those are our ancestors. Just from 200, 300 years back, 400 years back. Our ancestors were the bravest of the lot. Wait, Vikram Sampath is right-wing? I thought he was neutral and mainly tried to stick to facts. Wait. Stick to facts. Facts of life of great people who aren't talking about not towing the left line is equal to right-wing. Yeah, basically. Indian right-wing is basically that we are not left-wing. We are not against India. Like Abhijit Chavra says, Indian and American left-wing are the only left-wingers in the world who are absolutely against their country. In other places, left-wingers are also patriots.
Oxford debate, who constantly spoke of how many fatwas were issued by others, condemning this attack, condemning that attack. The point is, which of the two fatwas seems to carry more weight and application among the members of the community? Will the non-compliance of one particular fatwa have more impact than the other or more repercussions than the other? That's the only question. Just fatwas.
Yeah, same with Dharm Sansad. How many actually went ahead with the ideas propagated by Dharm Sansad? Nobody. That's why.
से आपको डर नहीं है उस फतवे का रहना या ना रहना कोई, I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me.
Yes.
So I'm not interested in, let's say this remote interpretation or obscurantist interpretation.
And Vikram Sampath is right wing because our left, whatever things our left wing says, those are everything in a way opposed by Vikram Sampath. So if you want to say right wing means different things in every country. Right wing means something different in USA. Right wing means something different in Europe, and obviously Indian right wing means different. So there should not be any hesitation by Indic wingers and basically Hindutvadis about calling yourselves right wingers, because we don't have to subscribe to the idea of European right wingism to call yourself right wing. Why can't we say that our right wing is this way? We are the right wing because we are not the left wing. And I don't see any virtue in calling yourself leftist, because even Sadhguru has said this as if it's a great thing that I am more leftist than you think. By that, obviously, he means that poor people should be helped, or there should be a great love for nature and those kinds of things. Those things are not left wing. Those things are not the monopoly of left wing. This is also saying like any women's achievement today is a beneficiary that any woman who does anything good in her life is because of the success of feminism. That is the argument. That is also the same what Sadhguru is saying. He's saying he's left-wing as if it's a great thing. Left-wing is not a compliment. Left-wing is a derogatory term. So anyone should be proud of calling themselves right-wing. And as for what kind of a right-wing we are, that can be decided by what country we live in. Europe's right-wing means different things. American right wing is not about racial superiority. American right wing is about free speech and upholding the constitution and Enlightenment era and a bit of Renaissance era ideas. Indian right wing is about Sanatan Dharma.
The interpretation as well as the application, namely the thought as well as the deed with respect to jihad, has been violent in nature. And therefore, in the interest of self-preservation, as an individual as well as a community, I have the right to assume that I'm sorry, I will go with the worst case scenario because I need to prepare for it.
Exactly.
As opposed to drawing comfort from the other interpretation, which is peaceful.
Right. Yeah, someone calling it peaceful doesn't help me when someone tries to kill me.
Namaste, sir. Sir, I read both of your different and became retreated back to their.
At it.
This was an important question. What reform meant in Hinduism and what reform meant in Islam. People say that Syed Ahmed Khan is a great reformer, but he was reforming to tell them that learn English, at the same time have your Islamic education, and then join the bureaucracy so that you can reclaim state power for yourself. Raja Ram Mohan Roy's reformation was saying that screw Sanskrit and screw Hinduism, just learn English and become British.
Or rather, two examples. The way Hindus look at Raja Ram Mohan Roy is the way Muslims look at Syed Ahmad Ali Khan of Aligarh. Okay. Now, Syed Ahmad Khan's entire goal was to learn English and to expose his community to Muslim education so that they could become part of state power without giving up their origins. Remember,
without giving up their ethos.
Syed Ahmad Khan was a self-confessed Wahhabi himself because he's a product of the Dehlavi school of thought. He is actually a student of the very same seminary. I've explained this in the book. So his entire approach was, सीखो, उसमें डूब मत जाओ, क्योंकि तुम्हें इस सिस्टम को वापस लेना है.
Yeah, game the system for your own benefit. Don't lose yourself because and for the system.
Whereas Hindus, if you look at Ambika Charan Majumdar's book, which I've cited, he was, I think, the president of the Congress around the 1915-16. This gentleman's book on the evolution of Indian political movement is a go-to reference. And he opens the book by a deification of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy effectively believed that everything that was of consequence to Hindus from an education perspective was of no consequence.
Right.
And that the only way that they could uplift themselves was by exposing themselves to Western education. So the clear distinction is, one chooses to learn Western education only to be able to navigate that particular system so that he can take back that particular system.
Important.
And the other embraces Western education because he believes that his own culture has no value and his own educational systems has no value, and therefore in order for him to be at par with everybody else in the rest of the world, he needs to give up his past and adopt Western education.
This is the difference between a tool and a crutch. So basically, Hindus, Raja Ram Mohan Roy's idea of Western education was to use it like a crutch. He was under the impression that Hinduism doesn't have legs, so let's use English education as a crutch to improve in life. Whereas Syed Ahmed Khan was saying that Islam is great, we were just using an extra tool to improve in life, to get ahead in life.
Explains even his reconception of Hinduism on Christian lines. The way he saw the Brahmo system or whatever it is was primarily through a Christian framework. So the difference between the Hindu approach and the Muslim approach is, the Muslim approach has been to keep its traditional systems alive, either through its seminaries. And even the most vocal of its reformists constantly spoke of keeping both identities alive and giving.
Wait, there are two comments. Pracham's piece showcases Ram Mohan Roy's ideology well. He even got buried in the Super Gogeta, have you read Raja Ram Mohan Roy's letter? I can read it from India, that is Bharat here. I have it marked. That letter starting address, the way to address the British is exactly like how Savarkar's letter was and how Gandhi wrote all his letters to the British, and people only talk about Savarkar's letter, but that was just the letter writing format of those days. So there was no other way to write a letter. And that's the same way Raja Ram Mohan Roy addressed the British. It's like, your humble servant and all of that. The entire tone of the letter will make you puke. Friendly Vimana. Looks like, JSD is going from university to university. That is why I'm saying that in 10-15 years, the entire academia of sociology in India is going to be completely different.
Giving primacy to Islamic identity first. If Jinnah considered Aligarh Muslim University as the Muslim arsenal of Bharat, which would lead to the creation of Pakistan, and if he thought Aligarh was actually a great benchmark, Jamia was established because they believed that Aligarh itself was pro-British.
And Aligarh itself, why was Aligarh considered pro-British? Okay, let me tell you. Okay, I'll have to change the camera because my India Bharat Pakistan was here, unfortunately. So, the principals at Aligarh Muslim University were always British. They were the collaborators of all the Muslim intellectuals and leaders who were wanting different laws and for separate electorates for Muslims, etc. And then they wanted Pakistan later, of course. But there's a quote here from the principal of Aligarh Muslim University to this person, to Mohsin-ul Mulk, whom we have been taught about in our history books as a great Islamic Muslim leader during the time of independence. So that principal writes to him, to Mohsin-ul Mulk, that leave it to me, tumse na ho paega, I'll write the letter for you. And he says that I'm better at these things, because there's a very different kind of letter writing format that the British follow, and that is what we also follow today. And even in the judiciary, that is why we have this my bap attitude towards all bureaucrats and lawyers and judges, etc. That, oh my God, thank you sir, your humble servant. That's the tone forever. See what this guy says. Wait, I have made some markings. Letter writing format. Yeah. See what he says. This is by 10th August 1906. Archibald, who was the principal of Aligarh Muslim University, had heard from Dunlop Smith, the private secretary to Minto, that the viceroy had agreed to receive the Muslim deputation to hear its views. Archibald accordingly informed Mohsin-ul Mulk and even offered to help with the drafting of the memorial. The following were his suggestions on how the memorial to Minto must be framed. The memorial meaning a particular letter. So he writes, the formal letter should be sent with signatures of some representatives Muslimans. The deputation should consist of the representatives of all provinces. The third point to be considered is the text of the address. I would here suggest that we begin with a solemn expression of loyalty to the British. The government decision to take a step in the direction of self-government should be appreciated, but our apprehension should be expressed that the principle of election, if introduced, this is the phase where Muslims are opposing elections because they know they are outnumbered and therefore they did not want elections. This was a huge thing I realized after reading this book. During reading this book, I haven't finished it yet. But our apprehension should be expressed that the principle of election, if introduced, would prove detrimental to the interest of Muslim minority. It should be respectfully suggested that nomination or representation by religion be introduced to meet Muslim opinion. We should also say that in a country like India, due weight must be given to the views of zamindars. All of a sudden, zamindars are viewed outside of Hinduism. This was pretty funny. Okay, let's get back to this video. Someday I'll do a live stream just to discuss India, Bharat, Pakistan and all the parts I have marked.
Imagine an institution which you associate with the Pakistan movement being seen as more pro-British, and as a consequence, Jamia is set up. Therefore, there is a very clear strain of conservatism as far as the Muslim thought is concerned, which has kept...
Jamia is also famous for some other things, okay. I have a video called Naushera Ka Sher, Lion of Naushera, okay. That was a Muslim general in the Indian army who died defending India, and he was offered the post of being general when Pakistan is created, and he said, "Screw it, I'm not leaving my country." And the day he reclaimed Nowshera for the Indian Army, the very next day he was killed in a shell attack. He just came out of his tent to have some coffee, and the shell fell in front of him, and that burst, and he died. So his burial is either inside the Jamia Millia Islamia campus or near the Jamia Millia Islamia campus. So, and he as a Muslim is obviously hated by other Muslims who don't want Kashmir to be a part of India. And his burial ground, his tomb was desecrated just 1.5 years back. And immediately within 2 days, the Indian Army renovated it. But that was a pretty interesting thing. Let's see this. Okay, I'll show you. Lion of Nowshera. Also watch my video on Lion of Nowshera. See, they had to renovate this. See, this is what they did to the Lion of Nowshera's tomb. Amazing. And then they renovated it. Okay, let's read the comments. Even today, the fundamental nature of the Indian state is colonial. Yeah, you should tell all the Jaipur Dialogue guests to buy a good mic. Even the regular guests there have the most baseline earphone mic as their mic for a channel with 800k subs. Yeah, what can you do?
Orthodox and being seen as more pro-British, and as a consequence, Jamia is set up. Therefore, there is a very clear strain of conservatism as far as the Muslim thought is concerned, which has kept its consciousness alive and its collective memory alive for generations together. Here, Tilak was branded orthodox, and he was effectively called a Brahmin fascist by his own contemporaries. When the man singularly understood that the only
Bal Gangadhar Tilak was criticized for holding nationalist speeches while using the Shivaji's Day celebrations and Ganesha festivals in Maharashtra, and people were telling him even then that no, this is too Hindu. It needs to be more secular. I thought Nowshera was the most Hindu Shakta name ever. Yeah.
Only way that you can actually fight the other side is by getting into the system without giving up your roots. Ultimately, the Swaraj Party was set up only on these lines. That's my answer to the question.
Thank you, sir.
So, in response to what you said, the Hindu society or the Hindu community responded to English education in the way it did. Because
okay, it's 3:10 in the night, guys. I'll do a live stream again tomorrow or day after tomorrow, and I have some audio production jobs to do in the next 2 days. I'll find some time to do it, and let's decide. We'll discuss some topic. I think I'll put up a poll on the community tab to vote on what to react to in the next video. I have some in my mind as well. Let's pick it up that day. Let's not carry it here in the middle of an Arundhati Roy video. Bye bye.